Good afternoon. Sydney's rail network has been crippled once again by industrial action as the New South Wales government and union face off over an ongoing pay dispute. There were cancellations to services today with delays cascading around the network, and there's more to come. Serena Andaloro has the details.
We have seen cancellation after cancellation this morning, and there is still no end in sight to this saga. Despite a pay offer being put to the union by the state government yesterday, a generous pay offer, some would say too generous, more than 350 ongoing and new industrial bans had a very frustrating impact this morning. The chaos, the result of a few things: a go slow campaign from the RTBU, meaning some trains are travelling at a snail's pace. That combined with the Electrical Trades Union refusing to conduct critical maintenance at key spots at Bondi Junction and at Homebush last night, impacting signals and turning lights on the track red. On top of all that, there are work bans in the Rail Operations Centre, making managing the impacts of all this a real challenge. Well, commuters have had enough of this industrial dispute, venting to our cameras this morning. Western Sydney seeing the worst of the delays.
The New South Wales Government and Sydney Trains will continue to do everything we can.
And I'm turning around and going home. It is, I appreciate they have demands they'd like met, but the only people they're inconveniencing is the commuters.
Yesterday, the Transport Minister announced an offer which she described as fair and reasonable, a 14% pay rise over 4 years plus super. She confirmed what we revealed last year, that it comes at a significant cost, a major restructure of transport for New South Wales with around 100 jobs slashed. Now, the union has to put this offer to its members in a vote. The bosses have told me they don't like it and they think their members will reject it.
And we'll have a live update for you at 4:30 on how those delays are impacting the start of the commute home. As many as 20 residents have been forced from their homes in Sydney's southwest after a roof collapsed at a Cabramatta unit block. Gaping holes can be seen covered with tarpaulins, with the roof buckling on both ends. Residents were left with no choice but to evacuate. Some say they'd previously raised concerns.
We've been asking Strata and the agents to help us fix this issue for months now, but they haven't done anything, and it led to today where everything just fell apart.
The building has been blocked off while crews assess its structural integrity. We'll have a full report in 7 News at 6 p.m. A man has been arrested and another is on the run this afternoon after a wild police pursuit through Newcastle. It came to an end when the allegedly stolen car crashed into a motorcycle, then rammed a police vehicle, causing it to flip. Bill Hogan has the details.
Good afternoon. Well, a motorcyclist has escaped serious injury after being caught in the crossfire of a dangerous pursuit that spanned right across Newcastle last night. The 27-year-old man was travelling along Maitland Road when he was knocked to the ground by an allegedly stolen Ford Everest trying to escape police. A police car was then rammed, rolling onto its side as it tried to block the path of the four-wheel drive. The driver and the passenger jumped out and took off on foot. Police say the passenger ditched a backpack in a nearby park. In it, they allegedly found cash, drugs and a firearm.
Carrying a firearm in a vehicle clearly is concerning for the community. 26-year-old Aaron Foster was eventually arrested and charged with 11 offences. The driver is still wanted, and I would encourage anyone that with information in this incident, please come forward to Newcastle Police.
Police are still searching for the driver who managed to outrun officers late yesterday. They are confident it's only a matter of time until they track him down. Foster was refused bail. His matter will return to Newcastle Court in 2 weeks' time.
Emergency work is underway to stabilise the site of a landslide southeast of Melbourne. Live to Paul Dowsley. Paul, 11 homes are still deemed unsafe.
And this afternoon, Amelia, their residents are still waiting for answers as geotech engineers continue to monitor this hill at Macrae, just looking for any signs of an increased risk of another collapse. And this is the focus of all their monitoring. This is the side of that hill, which would have been the backyards, the very steep backyards of those two houses at the top, which have collapsed down yesterday into a house. So for now, it's off limits to everyone, and we are seeing even some more houses being evacuated today. Locals here say that a big damaging landslide like this has been a fear of theirs for years. 2 years ago, November 2022, a chunk of the same hill, maybe only 30 metres across, also came sliding on down. On that occasion, thankfully, it only impacted properties and not any structures or people. But yesterday morning, when the earth moved, it took a two-storey house with it. It slid into another house, and incredibly, a council inspector who was at that most damaged home, he was following up a smaller breach a couple of weeks ago. He had to jump to safety yesterday from a balcony as it all came crashing down this afternoon. He is in a stable condition in hospital. Overnight, we saw just a 2 millimetre movement here. Nothing to cause alarm, but of course that can change quickly.
A 2 millimetre move, and with the wind and the weather at the moment is why we're still on scene. The weather is determining a lot of things at the moment, and once we get the clearance from FRV and geologists and everyone else, then we would make that determination on where it goes from there.
Point Nepean Road, that main road, Amelia, behind me, which you probably can't see, but it services the beach here in Mornington Peninsula, remains closed in both directions, and it may be up to a week or more before that road reopens and some residents are allowed back in.
Amazing pictures. Thanks, Paul. The Albanese government is likely to expel Russia's ambassador to Australia if it's confirmed an Australian prisoner of war has been executed. Live to Josh Martin in Canberra. Josh, the Prime Minister says he'll take the strongest possible action.
Yes, good afternoon, Amelia. The Department of Foreign Affairs is waiting for Russia to confirm if Oscar Jenkins has been killed. The Melbourne school teacher went to fight for Ukraine last year before being snatched by Russian soldiers. Vision surfaced in December showing the 32-year-old being interrogated and hit by Russian forces. Last night, 7 News broke the story that Jenkins is sadly feared dead. The Prime Minister has spoken to Ukraine's ambassador to Australia, and the Russian ambassador has been hauled in to the Department of Foreign Affairs. Under international humanitarian law, prisoners of war are meant to be protected.
If there has been any harm caused to Oscar Jenkins, that is absolutely reprehensible, and the Australian government will take the strongest action possible. We'll determine our response when we know what the facts are. That's the responsible thing for us to do.
We should send a very clear message to Russia and to other similar-minded regimes that Australians are sacrosanct, that they deserve to be protected by their government.
Mr Jenkins' family are yet to make any comment. His mum today again declining to speak with the media. Jenkins is believed to be the first Australian prisoner of war to die since the Korean War more than 70 years ago. The teacher had no military background and volunteered for the war despite the Australian government's plea for citizens not to join Ukraine's military efforts. Amelia?
OK, thanks, Josh. In a stunning development, South Korea's president has been arrested just weeks after plunging the country into martial law. Authorities arrived at the presidential palace with an arrest warrant, only to be blocked by President Yoon's supporters and fellow MPs. But in a pre-recorded message, the impeached leader soon agreed to give himself up to avoid bloodshed. He is not accepting the legality of the investigation. It's the first time in South Korea's history that a sitting president has been arrested. Time for a check of Sydney's weather now, and Paul Caddock joins us. PK, getting very warm out there today.
Amelia, certainly, with all that humidity too, but right now there's a storm alert for Sydney's west. A cold front that's currently crossing the state has already triggered storms in the south. These pictures are from around Wagga Wagga, which had a 106 km/h wind gust. It's just after 2 p.m. Trees have been brought down with reports of hail, a burst of heavy rain too, making for hazardous driving conditions on the Hume Highway there. There is a severe thunderstorm warning for much of the state's southeast, the northern tablelands and northwest slopes. In Sydney, Richmond has already hit 36 degrees today, Fairfield and Campbelltown 35, 34 for Penrith and Bankstown, 32 at Cronulla. But there is now a heavy rainfall warning just put out for storms happening near Penrith and near Springwood. There is a general expectation for showers and a thunderstorm for all of Sydney from right now into the evening. I'll have the full forecast a bit later.